What is going on, my salty home gymmers? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be talking about the Thunderbolt A10 leg press hack squat from Ritkeep. This one's been a long time coming. It's been out a little bit. Did have a few comments asking me to do this video, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you all my thoughts. In general, this is not a bad piece from Ritkeep at all, but we'll get into that later. The first thing we're gonna get into is the assembly. We really don't have any complaints about the shipping and boxing. It arrived in a decent time frame. I don't remember the exact days, but I don't recall waiting forever on it. When it actually got here, the packaging was pretty squared away. Everything was nice. None of my boxes were damaged. I will say, however, this is the first time I've ever experienced a company packaging their stuff in wool, which made it a little difficult to get some of the pieces out of there, but it also seemed to do its job, preventing those scratches during shipping. And then when I actually got around to the assembly, there was no complaints there either. Everything generally came together fine. Everything was really easy. There was no point of this assembly that really frustrated me at all. I will say, I say this in every video, but it has to be said again, because even though I say this in every video, I made the stupid mistake of tightening my bolts down before the end, and that is just something that you just shouldn't do when assembling gym equipment. I had the frame put together and I thought, oh well, maybe I go ahead and tighten that down, but it resulted in the machine having a wobble and me having to go back and loosen everything so that the machine could actually settle, and then tightening it back up to take that wobble out of the machine. So if you're having those issues, this might be your problem. So I'm going to talk about your dimensions that I've written down here. This machine is 60 inches tall. The width of the machine, including those plate horns, is about 59.7 inches, and your depth front to back is going to be 92.8 inches. Let's talk about some material. So a lot of this frame has to be put together. This frame comes in a lot of pieces rather than all in one welded together. You can see here there's a lot of connecting points for the frame, but once it all comes together, it's actually pretty sturdy. It makes for a solid piece. And part of the reason this may be is because once this all comes together, it is kind of a larger frame. This might be a case of we're trying to avoid freight shipping and trying to fit everything in a box. But like I said, once it all comes together, it is a pretty sturdy, solid frame. I'd say your A-frame pieces here are somewhere around 14 gauge steel. Now this machine does come advertised with a 2,200 pound weight capacity. And if you're asking me, is the frame that strong? I couldn't tell you. I'm not that strong. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I wouldn't take that weight capacity all the way to the bank, but I would say the structural integrity here definitely holds its own with all the other competitors in this price range. Coating here is pretty standard stuff you're seeing from a lot of the home gym machines here lately with that flat black paint. There's not a whole lot here that rubs or grinds against that coating in any area, so I'm not gonna really harp on it. It's not like a squat rack or something like that where you have to worry about it peeling off. I will say a little bit of the weak point here could possibly be your handrails on the side. I wouldn't mind a little more thickness out of these handrails here, but I think they function just fine. But they seem to be on a little bit of the thin side, which leads me to your pads. Your pads are super soft. They're actually extremely comfortable. It does seem like they could be pulled just a little tighter. They are a little bit on the soft side, which may result in a little bit of wear years down the road after heavy use, but they're not horrible. Now back to some strengths. Both your plates here feel extremely solid, and I'm going to talk about their size and the way they come into play later in the functionality portion of this video. But just know for the materials portion of this video, they feel great. They're made of nice thick steel. And one thing I just wanted to touch on that I just thought was a nice touch on this machine, not really necessary, but a nice touch nonetheless, is these base platforms, or these base legs, or whatever you want to call them. They each come with 4 holes in case you want to bolt this machine to the ground and make it even more solid, or they have the option of putting these rubberized pads underneath there with adhesive, and it prevents it from scooting and sliding around. Your main plate horns back here at the top of the machine that you see behind me are stainless steel. It comes packaged in one straight tube all the way across, held on by 4 bolts. It also comes with additional plate horns underneath, which is pretty common for these types of machines. I would definitely say they're your secondary option. The ones on the top are definitely the stronger ones. All right, let's talk about the functionality of this machine here. The thing that I want to talk about before I get into how this machine feels while you're exercising is I want to talk about the mechanism that this operates on. That being the roller bearings on this steel rod here. In this price range, you see a lot of rollers utilized. I myself have never been a huge fan of the rollers on leg presses. Personally, I tend to prefer the linear bearing option. And the difference in a leg press that operates on rollers versus a linear bearing is a linear bearing is basically a tube with little tiny balls that slide up and down that little rod.
I don't even know if that's PG.
Whereas leg presses built with the roller bearing option have two rollers on the top and the bottom that sandwich that rod in between them, and they roll up and down that rod. And as you can see here, Ritkeep has taken the roller approach. And typically, as I said before, I'm not a giant fan of these. However, as much as it pains me to admit, I am gonna give Ritkeep a pass here, and I'll tell you why. Because the main reason that I cannot stand roller bearings on these machines is because most of these machines with roller bearings kind of have a tilt in the leg press, in the starting position, and it just drives me crazy. And if you're a person that does one leg presses, sometimes machines built this way can make that difficult because they don't have a lot of stability in that starting position. Ritkeep's leg press, for whatever reason, does not have that major amount of play in that starting position. Excellent job there. Speaking of the leg press, you can see I do not have my machine in leg press mode, so perhaps this is a good time to show you how to do that. We'll start here. Going from hack squat to leg press is pretty easy. All you do is pick up on this pad, and I'm gonna show you the back of it because this swap here of the pad kind of works a little differently from what I usually see. What I usually see is some sort of pin mechanism that holds the pad in place, or to switch out the pad. This actually has 3 little round hooks in the back. When you lift up on the pad, it releases it, and as you can see, there's 3 holes in both plates, and I can just set those 3 little pegs down in there and slide it and lock it into place. Really easy there. I will say I didn't know how I was gonna feel about it, but it turns out I do prefer this method over the locking pin. It makes it very, very easy to slide in and out. Now, to release your leg press plate, there is a pin in the back, and it releases that plate and it locks into place like this. As you can see, there's 5 different adjustment points back here for your leg press plate. I will say it is kind of a journey to get back here and reach that pin when you're switching into leg press. This is a small thing I'm gonna complain about because it's really not a major ordeal, but it is kind of a reach to get back there. And then when you're ready to switch back into hack squat mode, all you do is pull this pin here, tilt it back into place, pick that pad up. You can see I can literally do this with one hand. Slide those pegs back into place, and you're back in hack squat mode. It is that easy. But listen, I'm not quite done talking about our leg press here. So I'm gonna pop this back out. As far as functionality goes, your leg press is pretty darn solid. You can honestly go as deep as you possibly want, and the motion feels smooth the entire way. Or if you're trying to go till failure, you do have this safety spotter here. 5 points of adjustment here. But even though that safety spotter is there, it still allows you to get that nice deep stretch. Like I was telling you before, you can go absolutely as deep as you want to go on this machine. And on top of that, it is smooth the entire way. I can't tell you how many hack squat leg press combos that I've used that their biggest flaw is they have a tiny leg press plate. Not the case here. Nice and wide, large functional plate on this thing. All right, now let's switch back into hack squat mode. Your hack squat's also gonna be one of those things that's big time solid. I was worried a little bit about those pegs in the back, whether or not this pad would slide up or affect my functionality at all while I was doing the hack squat. And it does have a slight slide when that exercise begins, but your shoulder pads take over from there and it really doesn't affect anything. With your feet fully out placed at the end of the foot plate, you are gonna be able to go 90 degrees. The foot plate, it is a pretty decent sized foot plate, and I'm able to get that good foot placement to get those hack squats in. It's a decent hack squat machine. You're not gonna have any major gripes with the hack squat machine. And just like your leg press plate is adjustable, your foot plate on the hack squat is also adjustable and comes with 4 spots of adjustment. Now you do have release handrails. I'm not gonna go too far into explaining these. They pretty much function the same, give or take, for all of these style machines. But a couple of things that I did want to touch on. First thing being your plate storage in the back, which I found to be pretty interesting way to go for plate storage on a machine like this. They're basically removable plate horns for plate storage. You can adjust them to whatever plate size you're using because you have about 16 different adjustment points to play with here on the side. It looks like you can even put one on the back, as there's 5 adjustment points on the back. I'm not gonna tell you they're the strongest guys in the world. They definitely do their job, and if they ever break on you, to be honest with you, they seem extremely replaceable. But it's pretty cool to put my plate storage wherever it works for me. So I do appreciate that little detail. So I'm gonna conclude here, and I'm gonna conclude by saying there is a lot to love in this machine, honestly. It does everything that it's supposed to do perfectly fine. I can get deep stretches on both primary movements. I can get good footing, and for the most part, the machine is stable all around. I dare say, what more can you want from a machine like this, a hack squat leg press combo that's this inexpensive? And honestly, it's one of the more impressive things that I've received from Ritkeep themselves. This machine's gonna get a thumbs up from me. Active, stay grinding. Thanks for joining me as always.